into American music, so for some reason it's just like straight away as soon as I sing an American accent comes out. It's like you don't really get that much in British prog, you know. But it's just one of those things. I can't help it.
Can't help it.
I think I have the most generic of American accents. I got a little bit of an American and a little bit of a Mexican from my mother's side. I've got a little bit of both. I got
There's definitely a lag going on in there, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
okay. Well, there we go. Now the lag stopped. Good. I am here with the band Last Flight to Pluto. And first thing I got to ask, where did the name come from?
You better go for that one. I think Daz is probably the best one to tell our story.
It came from a bit of a odd theory of mine that the human race are just planet hoppers, and we find somewhere to live and off we go. Give it a couple of thousand years, we destroy that one, and then we'll move on. And as you can see, there was a lot of talk back around 2015. Do you remember when NASA sent us a ship around Pluto?
Yeah.
And all the first time when we saw all those pictures, and I was just thinking in reverse that it would actually be in a hospitable planet, and that's where we'd all go next. So there you go.
Kind of a little sci-fi-ish, you know. That's kind of
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, I got to say, it's one of the more unique band names. I mean, some of them they use something from another band or something like that, but then that's one of the more unique names. And then I'll show everybody out there. I have the 3 CDs.
Hey, all 3. Fantastic work.
And I noticed on the first 2, it felt like it was a little more, the songs were a little more stretched out, a little more. And on the recent one, it seems to me more a tighter sound. It's still, it still sounds like you guys, but it's just, I was just curious about how I guess the evolution from, from here to here, and finally so far to here.
Yeah. It started really because myself and Alice, we were in a covers band, and we decided that we can have a look at writing our own stuff, but none of us were really writers, so we kind of twiddled our fingers for a while, and then I suddenly emerged as the songwriter, which is a bit unusual considering I'm the drummer. Because there's not that many, I guess. I suppose I'll be contradicted now, and somebody will tell me there are thousands of songwriting drummers, I'm sure. But that's how it started. And so having my roots in old prog, I tried to sort of drag everyone along into what I was doing. And I think, like anyone, a natural that keeps writing songs, you just want to try and edge away from what you've done the last time. I mean, that's always been the way I look at it, is not to make the same, but to just keep moving forward a little bit. And when I wrote that 3rd album, it was it just seemed natural to me that all the songs seemed to be 5.5, 4, 5 minutes, and it didn't bother me that there was no long epics as on the previous two. You know, so we're actually now in the middle of writing another one, and it's taken another little twist again. So the evolution continues then.
Well, that's the one thing, that there's a very few bands out there, that call themselves progressive rock bands that are actually using what the first word is, progressive. They're not they're not looking back and copying what came before them. They're trying to go forward and add new things, from different places. I mean, it's like, I have to admit, the new one, I was listening to it earlier today, and the new one kind of reminds me of a little bit of the Pineapple Thief.
Okay.
Where they're always been like a forward band. They don't stay in the same place, for long.
Yeah.
And it's like you make let's say you made this album. You don't need to make another one like this, because it's already been made, and
Yeah.
So it's to me, it's like I like bands that do that, they change it up a little bit. Some people don't like that, but like change when it comes to the music. They want to be, I know several people that don't like any progressive rock stuff after 1975. They just don't like it. I mean, it's like, but the times changed. At that time, the mid '70s is when punk came out, so that completely, shook all those old timers, and they had to either adapt or disappear.
Absolutely.
I think that's kind of the the angle that we were going for on the last album, and especially with the next one that we're writing, because like you said, things evolve, things move so fast, and these days it's like if you mention to just like any kids outside under the age of like 30, do you like prog rock? And they're going to look you 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, I don't even know what that is.
Right.
So to me, I think it's important that, I'm going to use the word, the music does progress into the times that we're in now, and instead of prog rock dying, switch it up, get the younger people listening to it. Even if it's got more of a straight ahead rock feel to it, as long as it's got those little twists and turns of progressive rock, maybe something will spark off in their heads, and oh yeah, I like that sound. And before they know it, they now know what prog rock is.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, I don't know what it's like in any other country, but around here, like I said, it's dying. And something needs to change, because otherwise it's just going to become a thing of the past. I mean, I'm not going to say this all music, because it's not. Metal music is thriving. Your standard rock music is thriving. Regurgitated pop is thriving, and then it's like prog is dying. So someone needs to do something. So if it means making it a little bit more modern and adding those twists, then I just think that's what needs to be done. Otherwise we're just going to lose that genre completely. We can't keep listening and going back to the old stuff,
Right.
because Pink Floyd re-release one of their old albums. Of course people are going to buy it, but it's going to be people of a certain age mostly that are going to buy that album, not the youngsters. And then you've got to think, well, what happens when those people of a certain age are not here anymore?
Exactly.
Elvis is still going to sell, the Beatles are still going to sell, because it's middle of the road kind of music, ABBA and all the rest of them, but prog isn't middle of the road. It needs to happen. So I kind of think that's what we're going for.
Yeah, but that, like I said, I've been listening to the music, and my girlfriend, who doesn't really like progressive rock music. She says she likes your music,
Oh, that's cool.
and so right there, you're kind of hitting into that where you're talking about is getting someone that's outside of the box to come in and listen to it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah, okay, the songs that are like 10 plus minutes, I mean, you have to really truly invest the time into listening to it. You can't just casually listen,
No.
No,
you know, and I think that takes a certain type of person that has the patience to sit it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think youngsters today have got that patience, Ron. They want everything. It's like a McDonald's drive-through, you know, they want everything fast now, and then it's forgotten about 20 minutes after they've eaten it. That's what the music world has become like, you know, and probably films as well. It's just
look at
That's-
TikTok.
That's
TikTok.
that's what I've been saying
Yeah.
a long time. It's like kind of almost like the music today is like the flavor of the day. It's like
Yeah.
whatever tastes good today, you know, they forget it's thrown away and disposable is another word. You know, it's and also too a lot of people that listen to, you know, the non-progressive rock bands listen to music, they only listen to it in the background
Yeah.
as something to make their day go along, and they don't take the time to put on, you know, headphones and sit back in a recliner chair and just listen to an album all from beginning to end, you know, without interruptions.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's like you were just saying, I think that's what's lacking today is, you know, they want those you know, they probably would rather have a 30-minute album, you know, because then they could go on with their day.
Yeah.
And it's like I get that to some certain degree. You know, I think it's because the internet has given you so many choices of what you can do. It's like your brain is like, okay, I got to do this, that, you know, and they don't. It's like, you know, you need to slow down. You know, it's like, I mean, I come from the time before the internet, and we weren't. Everything was, you know, okay. You listen to music, and it's like you listen to it,
Yeah.
you know, and you know that's the only downside of the internet. The plus side is you get to find out uh, all these amazing bands such as yourself. You know, it's easy now. You know, you don't have to rely on a paper magazine that comes out monthly to see what's the newest thing. You just go on, and you know, a lot of the stuff I get is word of mouth.
Yeah.
And I like I was saying before we started, you know, I heard your band's name, and it as I was scanning down, there's a vendor here in the United States called Symphonic Records,
Okay.
and I was just scanning down, and then I saw that your name, and it's like it just jumped out at me. I was like, okay, so I looked at that, and then I went to YouTube and watched a couple of the videos, and I was like, okay, so you know, I ordered all three. You know, it's like I
Some money.
and I like I told you before, he put a description of that you got reminded him of Magenta. And when I listened to it, I was trying so hard. Where is he thinking that?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess maybe because, you know, female fronted band, you know, the
There
from
was,
from Wales.
yeah, I've known Rob for 30 years. So when we were doing interviews and things, there was always that link between our friendship, and maybe it's gone along Chinese whispers then that my band is the same as Rob's band.
Right.
Whereas we're completely different. We're chalk and cheese actually, and a good friend of mine he actually played a tiny bit of keyboards on the last album. Don't know if you've actually read the credits. He played piano for us. But that's about as far as it goes, as far as having any common musical thread at all. We're sort of more heads down, get on with it. Whereas Rob likes to sort of skirt the edges.
Skirt the edges.
There you go.
That'll
Like
do.
that.
Skirt the edges.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you know, but that's the wonderful thing is that, you know, you can have differences, you know, it doesn't, you know, like not all the bands really should sound the same. There's, I like the diversity of different bands that it's like, if I, you know, I'll pick a band out of my CD collection, you know, and it won't sound like the next one that I picked out. You know, I like that, especially more modern bands. They seem to be adding the, you know, the more modern elements into the music.
absolutely. Well, John here is into more of the modern prog, you know, all those kind of bands, and that's bringing a different element to our thing. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I just think bands need to realize that you can latch on to fans, but they also like to hear you stretching yourselves as well, doing something different, going down a different path every now and again. And bringing up Alice's point earlier about gigs, we've noticed that the average age is 65 plus, 60 plus. There's the younger people then are just somehow not latching on to this music, and what we got a guy, I don't know if you're aware of Jerry Ewan, he's the editor of Prog magazine.
Yeah.
And he's doing his best to try and find the new bands that are out there, you know, digging. And then you come across again bands like ourselves who we are desperately skint, which is a British word for broke, you know. What do Americans use?
We're broke.
Yeah, we're broke.
We're flat broke.
Yeah, that's another thing. Okay, I get a lot of people that, especially the younger people that I've known, that that use things like Spotify as their library,
Yeah.
and not understanding or realizing that places like Spotify barely gives you, I forget what it was. I know there was a lot of zeros after, you know, it was 0.000.
0.0003 of a penny. I don't know.
cent.
A cent. Sorry.
You have to label it a different thing, so it's not a penny; it's a pity.
A pity.
Okay.
0.0.
One play gets you one pity.
One pity. Well, I like
Do you know,
that.
Ron? We had our annual monthly statement from Spotify
From Sound Drops, it was across all
across all the platforms.
Yeah.
And we had 188,000 streams, and
what was it, 40 American dollars?
we had 40 American dollars.
Which is then going to be taxed by America before it gets sent to us, changed into pounds, and then taxed again. So it's so I don't know, we'll probably end up with about 14 quid by the end of it.
And the thing is, this is they don't realize that it costs money for you to make music.
Thousands.
It doesn't just magically appear, you know. And
It costs money, you know. Microphones are 800 quid, you know. A studio is I guess $600 in your money per day.
Right.
You know, and you know, you got to try and back that up with gigs and merchandise, but you can never get enough gigs to sell your merch to back up what you've spent on the recording itself.
right.
We're probably still paying for the first one.
Yeah, probably.
Well, you know, I had a friend of mine that he's a music teacher, and he brought in his had a briefcase that he had CDs in. And they were talking about music one day about, how, you know, it's like they understood what vinyl was, but then when he says CD, they were like, it just went like right over their heads. Like, what's a CD? And it's like, oh my God, I mean, the CD is a more recent format than the vinyl is. And they, thank goodness they didn't latch on to 8-track, because those were awful.
Hmm.
Those were, but I use things like Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music when someone recommends me something and I want to hear it for myself. And 9 out of 10 times, I go and buy the CD. So, and I also use Spotify like that for a convenience, so I don't have to go and find the CDs all the time. And I use one of these in my car. I fill that up,
Yeah.
because it's just easier than bringing a big stack of CDs.
Yeah.
So I use that for merely convenience, and I always tell people you can use that for your convenience, but you got to buy the CDs.
Yeah.
That's, if you want that band, if you like that band and you want that band to continue, you got to buy their CDs. Or if you see them live, you buy their merch. You got to do that. It's the only way. I mean,
It does make a huge difference, It's like you said, streaming platforms, you get pittance. Turn up and buy a CD at a gig, and it's like getting something back.
It works both ways, though. When we did have our statement, it is fabulous to know that our
yeah.
music is literally being played around the world.
Yeah, that is great.
We have Mexico, Russia, Liechtenstein, Japan, and it's fantastic to know that these people out there are listening to our music. Now, there's no other way that they could be listening to our music if it wasn't for these platforms.
Yeah.
Now, I think every musician on earth has to agree with that. But rather than the CEO of Spotify becoming a billionaire, why doesn't he spread the love a little bit?
exactly.
Give all those people maybe a 5p rise.
Yeah.
At least put it not in the negative. It's like, give it. I mean, I mean, he'll probably go down maybe $500,000 if you gave a little bit more to, especially to the more independent bands such as yourself. That you don't have some major record label backing you.
No.
But I just utilize it as convenience, and plus also, I know it's not that much, but every time I go to listen to it, since I bought the CD and now I go in here and I listen to it, I can give a little something back. And I have noticed that on some of the bands, they even attached their PayPal.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to donate to the band, and I think right there, that's a fantastic thing that they add. I think it's relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something for people to, when they come across bands on Spotify that have that, it's like, I mean, even if you drop 5, American dollars, I mean, it's not much, but it's showing that, okay, you're trying to help.
Well, we have noticed, I don't know if you have a format over there called Bandcamp.
Yes.
And I think of like first albums up there for like £6 or somewhere around there. But we often find a few people just throw us £9, for example. You know, give us a few quid more, and that's happened quite a bit, isn't it?
Oh, we got some great fans, you know. Fair play, they are fantastic. Every time we do a show, there is a queue at our merch desk, like, and they're buying the t-shirts, they're buying the CDs. So we have got, you know, some awesome support.
Yeah.
can't
Yeah,
fault-
I love Bandcamp. I bought a few CDs off of there, you know, over the past couple of years, especially since they did that Bandcamp Friday where
Yeah.
band gets all the money. You know, you don't, and you know, that's a platform right there that actually cares about the artist.
Does
Yeah.
indeed.
yeah.
And
It was a cut today.
It's not a ridiculous cut.
No.
You are having something back. I
Talking
think
about 80%, yeah.
it's about that,
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So
Yeah.
you know, and it's just that knock-on effect, then, isn't it? The more that you sell, the more music you can make next time. you
right.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
We run out of things to sell.
running out of things to
Yeah.
sell.
To finance it all again. First album back. With nothing left in the house.
So I got one other question I have for you guys is influences. What are your individual and then you kind of, you know, pardon the pun, band together and have a common influence?
We are all completely different.
Yeah, I'm the elder statesman of the band, you see, Ron. The rest of them are all kids. Yeah. So I grew up listening. Well, I didn't listen. It was floating around the house. Would be like the Beach Boys, Beatles, Simon and Garfunkel, and then it'd be like later on it'd be the Eagles. They were all my childhood musical memories until I started to get my own, obviously, and then I got into like Rush, The Police. I got into early Genesis. I still stand by saying England by the Pound is one of the best rock albums of all time. I'll still stand by that, even though I'll probably play it now and go like, maybe not. But I still love that album. And so I grew up on all that old school prog. And then when I got this band together, I wanted to get younger musicians rather than people I knew who I knew what to expect from them then. People I'd been playing with for years and years. I knew what they could do. So it was like, get a bunch of new people in and bring all their influences in with them. And it turned out to be completely different to mine. But somehow along the line, after 3 albums, we're all kind of hitting our straps, getting all on the same wavelength finally, you know. So I'm old school, these lot are not.
Yeah, pretty much, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's influences, but growing up, my mother's not much of a music fan, believe it or not. I know she likes T-Rex and UB40, and that's about it. But my dad, he'd always have the radio on, but he's not a rock fan. He's more like Elton John, Mike and the Mechanics, Lionel Richie, all that kind of stuff. But I grew up in a time where like that punk pop rock was quite a big thing. Blink-182, Green Day, all that kind of stuff. And then as I got a bit older, then I went to like a bit heavier, like Iron Maiden, Rush, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, just a big mashed up ball, really. You know.
John.
Well,
Well,
my old man is obsessed with blues, so I've had that pumped into my ears all my life. But I think everyone kind of deviates from their parents, rebels a bit, don't they? So for me, the thing was heavy metal. So when he showed me Black Sabbath, something clicked with me, and I started chasing all that stuff. And then over time, I tried to get heavier, heavier. So I ended up listening to a lot of death metal for years. I've kind of chilled out as I've got older now. When all that gent stuff kicked off, I was really into that for a while. So it was like bands like Periphery and Tesseract and Carnival. So they were proggy, but they were doing it in a kind of a new way, but that was still kind of heavy. So I'm thinking perhaps you're going to see a bit of that going forward.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And then collectively, we get Ryan, the other guitarist and the bass player. They couldn't make it tonight, but they also throw in their ideas, and eventually there's this eclectic mix will come out. So that's kind of what we rely on, is get in a room, have a knockabout, and then
See what goes on.
yeah, see what happens.
Yeah, that's, I think, like you said it earlier, you could have gotten people, of your age or older, but then you kind of would know what to expect because they have possibly the exact same influences as you, and your band will probably wind up sounding like those influences rather than something forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I like when each of the band member has a different background in music where they came from, and then when you collectively get together, you create something that's fresh.
Yeah,
absolutely agree. Yeah, I think it brings just a whole new zip to everything when somebody mentions bands that they like that I've never heard of, and like to think I got a broad mind as far as music's concerned, but then that makes you then have a little listen to what they're on about, and John has told me about bands, and I've had a listen, and there's one or two I think are really, really good. Modern, Bring Me the Horizon, one of them. Love them, great. There's another one, I can't remember.
I'm all about Greta Van Fleet at the minute, and I don't care that everyone says they sound so much like Led Zeppelin. Here's my deal with that, okay? I wasn't born when Led Zeppelin were around.
Right.
I'll never see Led Zeppelin. Hopefully one day I'll get to see Greta Van Fleet. So if it's second best, as people want to say, well, I'm all up for that.
Well, there's another one that came out. Well, they've been around for a while, but then they just, for some reason, just broke out on YouTube. Crown Lands,
Okay.
and it's two guys.
So-
The drummer sings, and then the other guy does bass guitar and keyboards. And
Okay.
it sounds like someone said it, and they said it in a funny way. It's like almost as if Rush and Led Zeppelin had a baby,
Sounds good to me.
and so it's like there is a lot of those types of bands that take something from the past, but then they kind of modernize it.
Yeah.
So, where an older generation such as myself will say, oh yeah, that does sound like them, but they did, I was actually too young when Led Zeppelin were around, or actually too young to care. I did, and by the time I started caring about music, they were done. 1980, they were done,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so my era basically of music started in the 80s, even though I did peek back into the 70s.
Yeah.
So, but what I liked about each decade, it seemed like the 70s into the 80s, prog bands were so much different. Like this one way over here, Marillion. I mean, they don't sound like the ones came before them. I mean, so, it's always good. I keep on repeating it. It's always good when bands give us something new to listen to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also it's good when a band, when they go play their music live, they don't play it note for note. That's on the CD. You know, they sometimes, you know, I'm not sure if it happens with you guys, but I've heard other bands that when they play it live, they tend to add something in that they had an afterthought once the CD was already pressed. They couldn't change it, but you know, at least live now you can kind of expand. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of that going on with us. I mean, you and Ryan have a little whittle off at the end of a couple of songs, you know.
Yeah, so for the most part, we try and replicate what's on the CD because the part's all written, but there's a little scope here and there for some improvisation.
Absolutely. We're still kind of.
It's a different part of your brain when you're doing that, I think.
Yeah.
We use sort of a lot of sequences live, which means kind of restricted by a click track. So therefore, if you tend to stray off a click track, you're doomed. You know, you'll.
Where's that keyboard coming from?
Yeah.
Right.
But we're trying to get away from possibly using it so much live, and now we're the songs that we do not use it live. You know, we are sort of seeing little bits and bobs of difference every night, every time we play it. So always good.
Yeah, you know, and the other plus thing that I like about music is when you listen to the songs and then you go back another time to listen to it, sometimes you hear something a little different, you know, something you weren't expecting because, you know, maybe the frame of mind that you were in at the time. And that's one of the things I think that kind of, it has a pro and con. The con is, you know, for the younger people, they want something that sounds the same every time. They don't want anything that deviates from, you know, certain thing. And I've heard some of that, you know, like you were saying earlier, that regurgitated pop.
Right.
You know, it's like I heard some of that, and it's like, I mean, it just sounds the same. Every band, pop band sounds the same. There's no real difference. I mean, you can switch up the lyrics and it'll still sound the same.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess you can blame the internet. You can blame going back. You can blame MTV, for trying to, have stuff that are just flashy, and 3.5 minutes, and that's it. It's like, back in the 50s, they did the same thing. They were all about singles. They were selling singles. Albums were just the compilation of the singles. They weren't how they went into in the mid 60s, and then so on. They weren't. And I think a lot of what's going on is it's going back to the singles in the pop music. We're not. They don't care about a whole album. They just care about singles.
Yeah.
Well, I think music is like clickbait now almost. You'll see some woman half dressed with oily naked dancers to attract your attention. And it's funny, we were talking about this the other day, that bands are not invested in anymore. They're not allowed to breathe. They're not allowed to go, right, boys, you're on a 5-album deal. Go make the best music you can. And by the 4th album, you'll crack it. And the 5th album will be your winner. It's just not allowed anymore. It's all about firstly attracting your attention, and then secondly is the chorus crappy enough that I'm actually singing it.
Right. Well, I did see this one documentary years ago where this guy went through the process of how a pop song was crafted, and he did it. First did the thing on a an acoustic guitar, and then he says, okay, now I'm going to go get this girl to sing it. I'm going to give the sheet music to the producer. They're going to produce, a manufactured song, and then they're going to auto-tune the girl's voice, because God forbid, someone has a unique voice nowadays. It's like, I don't like when when they use like auto-tune to fix the voice, because it's just the same as, I'm sure, if they did the same in the studio for guitar or the drums, if you accidentally made a mistake in something, timing. I mean, it's like sometimes those mistakes are what makes the song great.
Happy accidents, right?
Yeah, happy accidents. Yeah. And you know who did a lot of those in the beginning of their career? Van Halen.
Yeah, totally.
I
He
mean,
was
yeah, some guitar player was trying to transcribe what he was doing, and he was like going, from a guitar teacher standpoint, he said Eddie was doing it all wrong. But when you listen to the song, it didn't matter. It sounded great.
Oh yeah.
So I just want so people can see this again. This is the first one. See you at the end. And a drop in the ocean. And the recent one, Random Karma, Fate, and Destiny.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy. Which one's your favorite, Ron?
So far, I like the latest one.
Cool.
But as a body of work, I mean, I've seen the evolution from the first one up to that, and I like it. I mean, it's the way I like music, like when it evolves. You didn't do the same album twice.
No.
And I think that, I mean, I tried to promote this a lot with people, and people are. It seems like sometimes people want new recommendations, and sometimes they just like to stick with what they know. And I tell them, I said, if you want modern progressive rock, Last Flight to Pluto is your band, because they're as modern as it gets. You do hear the influences, but they're not so dominant where it takes over from the music.
No, that's great. Thank you very much.
And I don't know if you guys know, in America we have this festival that's in a part of America which is having turmoil, Florida. It's called Ross Fest, and this is one that it's a really huge one. And then the other is that Cruise to the Edge.
Yeah.
And I mean,
You said
I reached out to both of them, and I've never heard a thing back from them.
Yeah.
Ron, so.
Get stuffed, you Welsh lot.
It's because they're they're not taking chances. They're staying within their safety zone of what bands they want. And it's like, a lot of it has to do with promotion. It's like, if you get a band that you're going to have play at your festival, you should promote the hell out of the band.
And try younger bands, because you're not going to get kids in to see old people playing. I know that sounds
Right.
Well, kids are horrible. We all know this. Yeah. Kids, they're not interested in music that their grandparents are playing or listening to. So maybe if they took a punt and got younger bands in, they'll bring in a younger generation to listen to
Oh
the music.
yeah, I think especially Rossfest. I've been to one of them when they were up further north where they were in Pennsylvania. There, those two festivals, and there's one in New Jersey called Prague Stock, are really the only festivals in the United States that are current. Oh, and Prague Day. That's another good one.
What's the one in Chicago called? I can't. There is one in Chicago as well, Ron. They have a Prague weekend.
Oh, yes. I can't remember the name, but yeah, I know what you. But the one Prague Day, it's done outdoors, so it's like especially if they got good weather, because down that way is there's always a chance for a hurricane.
Great.
But when that happens, or if there's bad weather, if that happens, they have a backup venue, which is cool, But it's there's some possibilities, and there's another person that he brings in bands from all over the world. He has in his basement, he basically created a little club. And I told him about you guys, so hopefully he might reach out,
Right on.
And I have a few friends that do the radio shows that that are very popular now. I know a few people there, that I try and tell them. I said, you got to put this on. I said, if anything, put the latest one on your show, and so you can hear, and then go back and get the other two, so you can, have the whole catalog. It's the best way, you gotta, kind of everybody's got to help everybody to promote, to bring this music. Just like you were saying, Alice, that it's one of the ways to get the younger people in is to make the music enough, I'd saying it, kind of dumb it down a little bit for them, but not enough where you sound like like you were saying earlier, that regurgitated pop stuff.
Exactly. You've got to find that fine line in between the both, So
Exactly.
keep the older generation happy and the younger generation happy, and hopefully it'll all figure itself out.
Yeah. So you said you're working on the new album.
Yes, we are.
At what stage are you at?
So I think there's about 5 songs floating around. 2 are definite. 2 I love. One of them is my favorite song we've ever written so far. So that's always good.
Right.
The second one I think is great. Probably got the biggest twist that we've ever done so far. I'm not going to tell you anymore, but it's all thanks to this guy behind me. So yeah, we're just going to be carrying on working on what we're doing at the minute. And
we're fortunate now that we've got more or less a home studio where we can do a lot of the guitars here. So that
that's going to be
far more relaxed atmosphere then.
Able to take our time on things.
Yeah. Obviously, we're going to have to go to the studio to do drums and probably vocals, but everything else in between will be done at home. So we're looking maybe possibly not so much going down the new album route, is releasing 2 songs at a time with the video. And doing that sort of routine every about 6 months maybe. So maybe release 6 songs in 6-7 months to keep the momentum going, because once you've released your album, that's it. There's here it is, and then you can't push it 3 months later because it's
Right.
out.
Old news, you know.
And we're trying now to make our own videos, so you know, keep costs down, and everything is always kind of been in house anyway. In one form or another, we've usually conned someone into doing something for us.
DIY ethos.
Exactly. So yeah, it's all looking good. We got a couple of gigs coming up now. To the end of the summer. We're actually doing a show with Magenta in a very old Welsh venue called Blackwood Miners. A lot of bands who broke through in the early 70s played in Blackwood Miners, you know. So it's with Life Signs. I can't remember the rest right now. We've got a couple of gigs then later on, so going to keep ourselves quite busy, and then hopefully probably, as I say, after the first initial releases, we're probably going to make a compilation of the whole thing and then release that as a new album then. It's essentially more of a financial thing, to be fair.
Right.
You set a budget, and then you kind of know by the second day this is going to go wrong. You're already over budget in the second day when you're planning a month or something. So yeah, it's all DIY, all at home, and we're gonna be doing slow trickle rather than dumping a new album on everyone. So
Right.
something to look forward to for if you're a fan of ours, of course, every couple of months to new videos, new songs. We're going to up our sort of stakes when we start actually recording properly, keeping everyone informed, you know, little videos and things like that. So fingers crossed, everything go to plan. We should be album number 4. Well, early next year, possibly.
Good, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, videos is a great way to promote the music. I mean, whether it's a performance video or a concept video, or I've seen a lot lately, those with it lyric videos. You know, it's like I kind of like the lyric videos because you can kind of get into the music a little bit more. Now you can see on screen what they're singing, you know, and even if you know what they're singing, it's kind of nice just to see the words, so you can kind of.
And it's a cheap way for a band to just get something out there, you know. It's like everything, it just costs and costs. And we bought a nice camera between us. There's a song, "Stay Out of My Head," which we made a video for, and that's purely me and Alice. We made everything from beginning to end. So you know, it didn't cost us a penny other than
time.
Yeah, that's yeah, on a nice sunny day, which is very rare.
Yeah, well, you know, nowadays with all the technology, with the the camera phones and the video cameras, you know, it's like you can do stuff that 30, 40 years ago would take one of those big bulky cameras, you know, that break people's backs, you know, that they're so heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen even some cameras, you know, people making videos with their phones. And
Phones 4K these days.
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, it's just so amazing how it's right there at your fingertips.
Yeah.
And like you said, only thing that's costing you is time.
If you embrace that it's a DIY effort and it's purposely a little rough around the edges, and you kind of exploit that feature and make it a feature, right? Then it can end up being just as cool as something that would have cost a lot of money to make.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and some of the ones that are DIY, they look better than some of those big productions.
I agree.
You know, so it's like, you know, you got, like you said, you know, you got to do it within your budget.
Yeah.
I gotta get our thinking caps on video wise.
We don't have enough money for half naked people to be dancing around us.
We have a lot of favors.
Yeah. Too many.
Well, just I'll give a recap for people to see, go out and buy the albums. If you're in United Kingdom, you can buy it on Bandcamp, and then especially if you get it on the first Friday of every month, all the money goes to them. So you got, and then finally this one. I'll figure out the name. That's the wonderful thing about Bandcamp is, the first Fridays of the month, that they treat you to all the money that, and like you were saying earlier, that even though it says gives you a base price, you have the ability, if you want to give more,
Yeah.
to give more. And that's when you do that, if someone's able to do that, that's just, how do they say, icing on the cake.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's like you're getting a little extra, and it's showing, okay, that this person is able to afford a little bit more, and and you guys, it's you're one of my favorite new bands that's come out in the past, let's see, 4 years. I did get into you guys late because you've been around, or at least the first album was 2015, so you've been around at least. So I didn't get into you guys until this year, and once I heard, I had to reach out, to get you guys on here, because I thought, A, I wanted to talk to you, and B, I wanted to help, put your name out.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. That's great.
And so I just basically wanted to thank you guys for taking the time out of your evening time, and talking with me, and I will put links
Thank you.
to your band below, and also to your YouTube channel, so that people can go and see your videos, and also your Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Those 3 links in there so that people know where to go.
That'll be great. Thank
Nice
you.
one. Thank you very much.
Again, I appreciate the time you've taken out of your day, to talk with me. And I can't wait for the new music, because if what you put out here so far is an indication, I can just only figure, the next evolution is gonna be even more of a pleasant surprise.
Hope so.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you very much. And I will talk with you soon.
That's
Nice to
great.
meet you, my friend.
You too.